What is up, guys? Wrestling Premiere is here. Honestly, I didn't have high hopes for this one. I felt like most of the stuff could be filler, but I was pretty wrong. This show advanced many storylines in the fact that it was 2.5 hours. It flew by pretty easily. We had the story of Heyman and Roman that was lurking throughout the entire event, and I was definitely intrigued with that one. Orton versus Keith Lee caught my eye, the women's tag match, a bunch of interesting stuff. And it's weird for me to say, but for the first time in a long time, I'm actually interested in the stories at hand. Like, the WWE is actually building on stories. It was just match, and I wasn't even interested in the weekly shows at all, because it was just match after match, and I just couldn't get into it, to be honest. There's a lot of potential with the current storylines in my eyes, and yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. They certainly caught my attention with those. Now, for this one, I'm just going to give my opinion on each match, if I liked it or didn't. Simple. It's pretty short. Also, I heard some of you guys in the comments say I don't make enough mid-card or lower-card content. That's because you guys don't really ask much. Whenever I put up the poll, those topics always lose, but for the next video, I'm going to go with something, I don't know if it's lesser known or just something that we should just do that's different. Something like Billy and Chuck, Fall and Rise of Mark Henry, something like that, basically. So expect something that's not a main event story for the next video. Okay, let's get into it. The first match on the kickoff show was between Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott, the Riott Squad, against Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, the Iconics. Okay, this match was good. Why? Well, the Iconics were ruthless, especially Billie Kay. They isolated Riott throughout the match, and it was building up to the hot tag. Riott was always shut down, and she just couldn't get into it. At one point, Ruby Riott had the tag while Peyton Royce shoved Morgan, and Kay tried to make it seem like it was Ruby who shoved her. She sort of believed her, and she was stuck in a state of conflict, like, if I trust my friend? She was confused. She trusted Ruby, and finally she was in. Now the Iconics were suffering, and I thought they had the match won here, but that wasn't the case. The Riott Squad ended up winning with the double knees and the Ruby kick, and overall it was enjoyable. They told a good story there. The Iconics were out to break that already splintered friendship the duo had for each other, but they clearly failed. Okay, the first match on the show, the official show, saw Apollo Crews defend the United States Championship against Lashley. The Hurt Business were looking to increase their stock with the U.S. title at their side, while Apollo just wanted to be another member of the group. Apollo paid tribute to Chadwick, who sadly passed away earlier this week. And as for the match itself, it was entertaining. I kind of believed Apollo Crews was going to beat Lashley. The Hurt Business made their presence felt in a small way. Bobby Lashley was bouncing Apollo around, and he was stuck on defense for a while. Eventually he found a small opening, and he made the most out of it. Hurt Business started to worry, and it was moments like this that made me believe there was a chance that maybe, just maybe, Apollo will win. But Lashley, in his brute strength, shut down Crews, and he wrapped it up with a full Nelson. The ending caught me off guard, but it showed just how much of a threat Lashley is. Also, FYI, it's his first U.S. title in 14 years. After the match, the sore loser Crews attacked, but he didn't really do much, and he ran the hell out of there, and it was just confusing. Basically, the good guy attacks the bad guy for beating him clean. I just don't understand. Whatever. Once again, entertaining match. It was enjoyable, and it was probably the best match to open the show. The next match was between Big E and Sheamus. Now, for me, I personally think Big E is going to hold that gold. That promo showed just how passionate and focused he was on retaining the vision of the New Day. He wanted to reach the top without being different. Like, everyone that has reached the top, they had to change something about their character. Big E was looking to be the same guy he was previously and be a main eventer at the same time. This match, it was pretty rough. Big E missed a splash, and it was then where Sheamus targeted Big E's knee. He focused on that knee for a long amount of time. Once he found the opportunity, he took advantage while he played around for a bit, and that cost him, and that was what The Miz was talking about, as the commentary team stated. Big E focuses on the dancing and all that stuff when he should just mind his business and win the match. He shouldn't focus on placating to the audience. He should just go and get that W. And he was back to square one as a result of this. Sheamus hit this mean-looking knee that I thought got him the win, but that wasn't the case. He then went for the brogue, but that wasn't to be, as Big E hit a powerbomb before wrapping it up with a big ending. Once again, the story. Big E just doesn't want to quit. He fought through the knee injury and managed to get that W. That's why I kind of enjoyed this match. It wasn't amazing or anything like that, but I liked the story at hand and how Big E was resilient, and he fought through the adversity, the pain, in order to get the win. He then approached Corey Graves and told him to preach about it. And yeah, I just think he's going to get that push. That's what I see. It's only a matter of time before he gets a title shot, perhaps Survivor Series or something like that. If momentum's on his side and the fans really connect with him in a main event way, I think he'll get that title at WrestleMania. If Kofi Kingston could get it, Big E surely can too. The next match, King Corbin versus Matt Riddle. Now, one thing I found weird about this is the fact that Corbin acknowledged Riddle being a failure at home. Now, for those of you that don't know, that means Riddle cheated on his wife. I didn't expect them to mention it at all, but it's WWE, so it's to be expected. It's kind of rude that they had to do that. Now, the match itself was kind of hard to get into. I don't know why. It wasn't even that bad. Corbin, he's been seen as the worst thing on SmackDown to many, but he could actually go in the ring. The problem with him is the King thing and the booking once again. I personally don't have a problem with them. The problem is with the brass. I personally believe he has a spot on the roster, And he could back it up. That's what I'm trying to say. The match itself saw Riddle fight like a pit bull in order to force Corbin to submit, but he just couldn't do it. The King of Bros struggled to fight back, but when he did, he landed a kick that sent Corbin to the outside, and from there, Riddle was finally on offense, but at a moment's notice, Corbin was there with a deep 6. This didn't get him the victory, and he found himself locked in a triangle. He was on the receiving end of a bro to sleep, and then the floating bro, and Riddle won the match. Personally, something fell off for me. It wasn't even bad, it was decent, and maybe I expected something else, something that was way better, I don't know. The next match was for the WWE Women's Championship. Sasha Banks and Bayley defended the gold against Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. Okay, this duo, I can imagine them plowing through the entire division like some sort of power trip. They just have that potential, in my opinion. And to be honest, even if they did go through with it, it might be bad. As for Sasha and Bayley, you know what's up. The clock is ticking on the eventual breakup, and we just don't know when. That's the problem. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. The match itself saw Baszler and Nia show their inferior chemistry. They already had a small scuffle in the back, and now they were forced to coexist. Bayley and Banks managed to isolate Baszler for a bit. Sasha went for the Three Amigos, but then Jax caught her, and like a wrecking ball, she was thrown over to the barricade. It was probably the best moment up to this point. It showed just how much of a monster Jax was. But Nia was caught off guard when the champs targeted the knee. They bounced back with a double team that I thought ended the match, but Nia kicked out. It was like those moments in sports matches when you realize that it isn't that team's night. You just get that feeling inside of you. You're like, oh no, it's not our night. Baszler entered the match, and she locked both women in a hold. Sasha in a heel hook, and Bayley in the sleeper. She then used Banks' arm for leverage in order to force Bayley to tap out, further driving the wedge between the two besties. It benefited the story greatly, and it made Baszler look so damn dominant. So now Sasha has no title. Nia certainly going to Disney World. Sasha was in tears, and Bayley, she felt guilty. Overall, a fun match that I enjoyed due to the many spots that went on, and due to the friction between Sasha and Bayley. And the unlikely duo, I think, is going to end up like Team Hell No or something like that. They could wreck everyone in their way and entertain, I guess. Okay, the next match was between Keith Lee and Randy Orton. Okay, this is one of those matches I never thought I wanted to see. Many fussed about Lee's debut and how WWE took away his theme song and forced him to wrestle in a shirt. While I do agree with these statements, I don't really care about them in general. Sure, it's annoying not to hear that song, but it's clear that they have big plans for him. This match in itself is proof. As for Orton, he's the very best he's been in years. He's focused on entertaining and putting on great matches and programs. Now, the match itself, it caught me off guard. I'm certainly sure it caught you off guard. Lee in the beginning asserted his dominance, and he sent Orton out to get a breather. Then, those chops, they did nothing but get the Limitless One angry. Orton found an opening and made the most out of it, and he began slowing down the pace, but not for long as Lee bounced him off the mat and off the announce table. Lee made a mistake, and he was on the receiving end of a second rope DDT, and it was time. Time for the RKO. Except it wasn't to be, as Lee caught him off guard with a spear bomb to win. Okay, that was stunning. Why? Well, Lee just debuted and he beat the top guy in the entire company. That's why it's stunning. Orton was seething, and that image is so damn excellent. I love that image. It's one of my favorite things I've seen from the pay-per-view. One man's misfortune's another's fortune. Right out of the gate, Lee's like the number 2 good guy on Raw now due to the victory. The booking was top-notch for this one. It was shocking. Like, it really put him on the map. Now, one thing I heard on Twitter was that Orton's momentum was halted, which is kind of ridiculous to say because he's freaking Randy Orton. He could easily recover, and if anything, this will get him angry and more focused on recapturing the title. It's not like he's not going to win that title. He's going to win it eventually. We just don't know when. Like I said, it was kind of ridiculous because I don't think his momentum was halted at all. He got caught off guard. He underestimated him, basically. That's what I thought. The next match was between Seth Rollins and Murphy against Rey Mysterio and Dominic. Okay, this one was fun. It's cool to see Rey team up with his son and in good condition. Like, how often does a full-time wrestler team up with their full-time son? It doesn't happen that much. Dominic was brave. He quickly took the fight to Seth, and the Mysterios worked as a cohesive unit and they stuck to their game plan. Rollins and Murphy found an opening, and from there they were in total control. Despite a Dominic tag, it didn't really do much, and it was the same thing that occurred to Rey, pure isolation. Once in a while, Dominic finds an opening, but when he found the opening, the tables turned. Rey was the aggressor, and Seth was receiving a much-deserved beating. Dominic, meanwhile, showcased some of that hidden talent, and both teams went back and forth inside and outside the ring. There was this cool counter. The crowd was popping, although it's kind of hard to tell. And Rollins tried wrapping it up with a stomp, but it wasn't to be. Instead, Rollins countered Mysterio's counter into a slam. Rollins and Murphy sent the Mysterios right into the barricades, and inside the ring, Seth was taunting Rey, asking, "Where's Angie?" He commanded Murphy to kick him right in the head, but instead it was Seth who got his head kicked in. Rey sent Murphy into the ropes, and the son launched the father before hitting the 619 and a frog splash to win the match. Not bad. It was my favorite match due to the story, and the Dominic thing is really interesting to me. Also, the underlying cracks within Rollins' group, he had a look of disdain, and I personally can't wait for the implosion. Murphy took Roman and D. Bryan to the limit last year, so if he was to face Seth, they would certainly tear the house down and tell a good story in the ring. And the main event, The Fiend Bray Wyatt defends the Universal Championship against Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns in a triple threat no-holds-barred match. Now, many felt this was a little too early. What did you guys think? Personally, they had to put something on a pay-per-view. Another thing is the fact that everyone was basically a heel. Like, I don't see how Bray's a good guy at all. Braun was this impatient meathead. He just fights without a game plan. Roman was nowhere to be found, and both men hit their respective finishers on one another in the beginning. The Fiend drove Strowman through the table. Alexa Bliss, weirdly enough, was watching. I'm glad they acknowledged that. Braun continued to execute his game plan of just fighting. They brought out the mallet. They found themselves next to the stage. Strowman plowed through the Fiend, sending him off the stage. It was wild stuff, and if that wasn't enough, they broke the damn ring. And it was then where it was Roman's time. Like a good guy, Roman comes out, signs his contract, and finally enters the match with a steel chair in hand. He went for the cover on the Fiend twice, but it wasn't enough for the 3. Then Strowman, but it seemed like Reigns had to put the work in order to get that W. He blasted Strowman with a chair resemblance of Austin at WrestleMania 17, except this time he kicked out. Fiend tried the mandible claw, but Roman low-blowed him, showing signs of being a very good guy. He then speared Strowman to capture the Universal Championship. Honestly, was it going to go any other way? Fiend is probably the greatest transitional champion. His first title reign ended by Randy Orton. Second, Goldberg. And now he loses it to Roman. He didn't lose. He wasn't involved in the finish. But the problem falls on the fact that he's this unstoppable force, and that doesn't benefit anyone he faces. But Roman's captured the one title he's never lost. He used some questionable tactics in order to do the job, but he's content with having it. It doesn't matter to him if he cheated, as long as he has that title around his waist. Okay, this match, kind of decent, keyword kind of. It wasn't good, wasn't great or anything like that. It's the same as the SummerSlam one in a way, but it felt different at the same time. So yeah, it probably is the worst match of the night. Might be this or the Corbin and Riddle match in my eyes. I liked how Roman came in and won the title. He showed that he was a jerk. I can't wait to see Roman as champion. I'm looking forward to it, basically. Payback, I personally enjoyed the pay-per-view. Matches weren't exactly outright bad, and it was easy to sit through. My favorite match was Dominic and Ray against Seth and Murphy. The story they told, I loved it. What did you guys think of Payback? Please comment down below. Next video, like I said earlier, mid-card, lower card, something like that. I might even do Crash Holly Hardcore Championship. Not sure, so yeah. That's it for this video. Make sure you hit a spear on the like button and perhaps the 619 on the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.